Welcome. So today I'm joined by creative specialist and independent geobiologist and energy worker, Garry Sharp. Hi, Garry.
Hello, everyone. Hiya. How are you doing?
So my first question, Garry, is what is stirring your pot this week?
Oh, this year, this decade. Um, it's about misinformation, really. And I'd like to do this quote, and it's from a German philosopher, Hannah Arendt. She was born 1906, past 1975, so war child. So this is very much what's going on. Constant lying is not aimed at making the people believe a lie, but at ensuring that no one believes anything anymore. People that can no longer distinguish between truth and lies, and I would like to say love and hate, cannot distinguish also between right and wrong. And such people, deprived of the power to think and judge, are without knowing and willing it completely subjected to the rule of lies. With such people, you can do whatever you want. So basically, we've got a lot of fact checkers, and really the point where I'm coming at is um, we've all got biases, and we're at this very special time in the world where we need to kind of put down our biases and just open our ears and listen and sit with it. So that's what's stirring my pot. There's so much false information, and people get the information, don't research, they don't sit with it and hold it. So you're finding the true resonance of it. So yeah, that's stirring my pot.
It's interesting, isn't it? I was having a conversation with one of my sound therapy clients about how Google is edited and filtered. So some what you used to be able to find 10 years ago, if you were searching for an unbalanced argument, is quite difficult now. And you almost have to know where to look for unfiltered information. Do you have a website that you would be your initial go-to if you wanted to fact check?
No, I, like, so 2005 was the birth of YouTube, right? So I didn't even want an email. I didn't even want an email address. So I very quickly learned that I'm going to be left behind if I didn't have one of them. So I'm still very much, I don't use the internet as most people do. I find information, sit with it, and just I find the soul of that information, and I'll see how it resonates. Um, so yeah, so I trust myself, and it's kind of it's the start of my journey, really. So when I was 7, it was time to go to bed, and I went up to the stairs and I seen this ghost figure. So I quickly went into the living room and said to my parents, "There's a ghost at the top of the stairs." Um, and basically, my dad went, "Here you go, elastic band, fire at it," and job done. So I knew my parents weren't going to help me. So I went upstairs gingerly and tried to make commune with the ghost figure. Um, and it just ignored me. So this happened for a couple of weeks, and so I got used to it. And then because I was trying to talk to it and probably annoying it, it started chucking the books off my bookshelf. So I was like, "Oh, why are you doing that? That's so, I'm gonna have to pick that up. You aren't, what's up, you? Doesn't anybody love you?" Right. And with that, she faced me and she goes, "No, no one does." And I said, "What? You haven't even had an animal, a dog?" Because we had dogs that loved. And she goes, "Actually, yeah, I had this dog." And with that, this dog come through the wall, and she made a fuss of it. And then she just looked at me, smiled, and then walked out the landing wall with the dog, never to be seen again. So at an early age, I'd done a bit of energy for him, helping him to move on. So yeah, so a lot of people have a phenomena around 6, 7 years old, and you either kind of you resonate with it and try to understand it, or you put the duvet over your face and just ignore it. So that's a pivotal age. So then when I was 14, I found a spiritualist church. So I was really kind of intrigued about the dimensions and energies we can't see. So I got invited to a development circle, sat in there for about 6, 8 months, and basically got nothing as in the theory of what you're trying to do, because a lot of spiritualists just do it naturally, and a lot of them also have a script to follow. So that's why a lot of them sound the same and questioning. I'm not saying that they're not authentic, but so I basically wasn't getting what I wanted, so I left that. And then I found an amazing book. I know I said we're going to recommend books at the end of it, of the podcast, but it was Barbara Ann Brennan, Healing Through the Energy Field. And that was that then got me experimenting and solace with somebody that's seeing the same stuff I'm seeing. And there was a lot of theory and a lot of stuff that kind of grounded me and gave me stuff to work toward. So yeah, that was my start of it. So 2005, I read a book by Drumvalo Mekledek. It's called Living in the Heart, and it's just a really short book. It's really beautiful, and it's also I can share this, and it's about activating our heart torus. It's very important in this day and age because it's our protection and our electromagnetic buffer screen. Anyway, but so before he done this Living in the Heart meditation, there's a few pages on Slim Sperling. He's a geobiologist, and it was basically, he was doing amazing stuff with tensor rings and cleaning the pollution of Denver and places in America. So really awe-inspiring. And I'm like, so 2005, YouTube was just born, and I'm going, oh, God, the internet wasn't, what it is now, and I'm trying to kind of find where his website is, can I? And then, no, I just had no joy whatsoever. A couple of days later, though, I'm walking down Glastonbury High Street, look in the shop window, and there's just like this leaflet, he's coming to England in a couple of weeks' time in Bournemouth, and he's doing a 3-day course. And I'm just like, here we go. So there's an energy match there, so I was resonating, just going, I can't, I'm so interested in helping the planet and helping people. And, and then just kind of just gone, well, next day, there it is. And I'm there, which is fantastic. Where should we go from that?
That's synchronicity kicking in, isn't it?
It is.
So certainly my experiences with synchronicity, sometimes it can be really simple things where I'm not even verbally, it's in my head, in my head I'm asking for help, or I could really do with X, and then it appears. And the first time it happened, I questioned myself and thought, what am I doing? What happened there? And then I noticed it happened on a few more occasions, and I thought, I've got to really start taking notice of what I'm doing, the intention I'm setting out, and where the universe is responding to me.
Yeah. Energetic match.
Yes. How would you explain synchronicity to any listeners that might not understand what it is?
Oh, yeah. So basically, we only can see a certain amount of light spectrum. And if we could see all of it, it'd freak us out. So basically, what I'm trying to say is we are all connected. We are all connected on this amazing life we're experiencing. So it's about quietening the monkey mind and just being in the heart and at peace, and you know, just synchronicity is being at the right place at the right time, and things just happen. We got our phones now. We got technology is stopping this. It's not stopping it, but it's interfering with it, because we can go, oh yeah, and boom, you know.
I think you get the best responses, don't you, when you can get away from your phone and go for a walk,
Pure magic, pure
leave
magic.
it behind, leave the Bluetooth away away from you. I was talking to one of my friends who I've been studying with, and we were talking about sending intentions, and it I said the only way I could see it works similar to how Bluetooth works, where we put it out and they can drop in and access what we're sending them rather than Wi-Fi. But I've never really explored that as from a scientific point of view. What would be your opinion on that?
Um, yeah, I'm going to give you a bit of a different kind of spin on this. So, I love my tuning forks, and I've been working. I work with earth energies, and there's a thing called a geospiral, which is basically almost like a blind spring. And there's a place near Stonehenge called the Cuckoo Stone, and it's just one stone in a big field, and basically it's a blind spring, but it's been marked by our ancestors. And before you even get to the stone, it's about 120 meters. You could just feel this purity, this natural earth energy that's really great for our vitality. I visited it about a decade ago, so I got this calling to go there. So I took my tuning forks and some shungite actually. And so I went to find the stone again and hit the 120 meter before this, getting to the stone. And I was urging, and it was horrible. It hit my gut, and I felt really sick. And I was with my wife as well, so she felt it, and she was like, "Oh gosh, what's happening? Where are you taking me to?" So we found the stone. The stone was it had a load of dirt and water and stuff, and it just needed generally cleaning and cleansing and loving, really. So we had some sage. We've done a clearing and a protection ceremony, and also before you do any of this, you ask permission from the land, and so it's this heart intent. So then I got my tuning forks, the circle of fifths, so the seven of them. And it was so beautiful. So when I meditate with the tune forks, you hit two at a time. You got an interview thought if you um, sound with it. It's so beautiful. And so I've got the no mind, so I'm just listening to it, and it's just beautiful bliss. But sometimes a person might pop into my energy field or my mind because something happened. I haven't seen them for years, but there's something that it could be good or could be bad that's lodged in our energy field. Yeah, and it's with you. And trauma, you tend to forget things very quickly. So what the frequency does is kind of highlights that and kind of put your awareness to what is not vibrating or needs addressing. And it's the same thing with wearing jewelry and stuff like that. If you so tuning into your own energy field is essential. So I did say about living in the heart. So this is a real practical protection and stepping into the heart. So I invite you, just a quick one. So I want to do a quick version of living in the heart and expanding the heart torus, but you can make this as long as you want. So I invite you, just breathe and be aware of your heart beat.
And that's to all of you who are listening. Make yourself comfortable and listen to Garry.
So feel the love of being here now. And with that love, you send that down through your body, through your legs, down into the earth, 500 miles down to the core, the molten core of the earth. And you say, I love you, Mother Earth. Thank you for my body. And thank you for this incarnation and the experiences that we're experiencing. Feel the exchange. She looks back at you and go, I love you too. So you bring that energy up through the core of the earth, Up through your feet, through your legs, through your torso, and back into your heart. And now feel that love of yourself and the earth. And now send that love up through your torso, out through your crown, through the sky, and up to the universe. Divine intelligence. I love you, great universe. And that acknowledges you. And you bring that love down through your crown, head, and back into your heart. So now you have love for yourself, love for the earth, and love for the universe. Now blend those three elements together. And when they're really blending, expand this torus, this sphere, and make sure when you expand it, it's fully to the front, fully to the right, fully behind you, fully to the left of you, fully below you, and fully above you. So you've got this bubble that's just boom, boom, and that's your protection. So now just breathe into the heart again and see a white dot or a sparkly light of your choice. Breathe into it. And now, with this dot, sparkly light, expand it. A bit like Neo in the Matrix when all the security guards have come in and he just goes, no, and he doesn't even touch them and he knocks them flying. So this is your expanded protection heart torus. And it's really, really, really important to do that at least once a day, if not 3 times a day, because we are constantly being bombarded and knocked out of our heart center. So it's just a really, really simple exercise that's really actually essential and powerful.
And
So yeah,
where did you learn that, Garry?
that was in the Drumvelo book, Living in the Heart. But so I've come across lots of different modalities that has adopted that sort of thing. They've just used different terminology or different things. And you notice that I didn't use any angels, any gods, because we are enough. We don't need to invoke anything around us because we are the universe and we need to connect to each other and ground this energy. I'm not saying that the unseen ones won't pop in or add something, but they're there just to kind
Yeah.
of hold space with us. We are enough. We don't need to,
Yes.
because I see energy. And somebody once asked me when they were repeating this mantra, Garry, can you look at my energy and what's happening? And it really, unfortunately, I didn't do the heart torus. I just went, okay, let's have a little gawk at your energy field. And it was not very nice. So the Kundalini energy between the perineum and the earth, all of a sudden that was accentuated and the pulse was just too quick, not very nice, almost violent. And then there's some things going around the heart area, which is quite unusual. But also, I seen a straw from the solar plexus going out of the aura. So basically, when they rung the bell before the mantra, they were going to basically the demons, ding, ding, dings, feeding time. So then obviously they were repeating the mantra, they had the connection, and basically they will, it's an exchange for whatever they were wanting to manifest or to generate. There's an exchange of energy, and not very nice, not very nice. And we all see energy differently, and
Yeah.
sometimes we don't understand it either. I went to hug a friend, before I left, and they lived in a 3-story flat, and I seen this lightning bolt above our heads, and I was like, that's really weird. I've just seen a lightning bolt. Don't know what that means. So an hour later, when I got home, I got a message saying that all the people in the flats had to be evacuated because there was an electrical short that could turn into a massive fire. So
Oh,
it's things like that. When you see usually the outside landscape will show you and tell you what that was all about on many different levels.
yeah. That's one of the interesting things I found by journaling. And when I go back and read through my journal entries, and sometimes it's almost like I've predicted. There's a sense of, I knew what was happening because I wrote it down, but I don't always at that time connect with what I'm writing. And
Okay.
but I've gone back and looked at it and thought, that's interesting. So I knew what was about to happen there because I'd written it. I'd made a comment, and then the following days proved that what I'd said there. And I thought, that's okay. I need to start taking more notice of that. And people can do that, can't they? Because sometimes that unconscious part of our ability will find its way through. And I certainly found journaling was an amazing way of doing that. What do you use?
Yeah. Again, I do write things down, and this is why biases are really interesting, because you can go back with information that you've written down and go, I've got a different understanding of this now. So it was an important information, but as you kind of understand things and you kind of go on, you kind of see that information in a different light. So I've got to wear heavy boots because I'm a gardener and many things. So I need to protect my feet. At the end of the day, when I kick them off and I sit, I've got this beautiful sequoia tree, and it's just my go-to, just to kind of reground from a day. So when I take my boots off, a bit more difficult in the winter time, but there's different ways of grounding. So what I see when I just bring myself back to the day, into my heart, and I'll kick my boots off, so I've got connection with the earth. I see red and green energy kind of come into my body and also radiate through my energy field. And that takes a good 20 minutes to be kind of topped up on your grounding. So for me, it's always going back to the body and the self and the soul of who we are.
Thank you. So I start my day with my tuning forks, and you do what is called a clear, cleanse and balance, and that tends to get my day going. And ideally, the journaling allows me to put what's in my head into space so that I can deal with whatever's happening next. And I find that routine's quite beneficial, certainly to my physical health as well. I find myself being healthier through the winter because of those routines and keeping myself balanced. And that's been interesting looking back at, okay, oh, look, I thought I was going to have something wrong with me, and then nothing happened because I was working with those parts. And sometimes people don't always realize, do they, that the physical things that manifest pain, illness, may be related to a mental or psychological input.
Totally. We manifest, and this is that they do say that illness manifests in the energy field before it actually goes into the body. So it's a massive thing to connect with the body and respect it and thank it and give it all the good fuels that it needs. And this is why dowsing is so important. So it's tuning in to your body and asking it. With dowsing, it's so simple, but it's practice. So you need to know your yes and no responses. You can use the L rods, the pendulums, or your finger clicking. So it's a good one to practice. So if I'm going to try to click my finger, right? So I'm going to say, is my name Garry? So it's strong. It won't click. Your body doesn't lie. All right. So is my name Garry? Yeah. All right. I can't click it because it's strong. So if I said, is my name Susan, I'm thinking it, so my body's going, don't be stupid, so there's not that there. It's weak because I'm lying. So it's always check, do I fancy that? Is that product going to be good for me? Wait on, let's just tune in and, let's see. Because I'm asking my body, not just thinking, oh, it says that on the packet. That must be good for me, because we've all got different kind of quirks in our body. So it's just tuning in and just asking instead of running.
I wanted to ask you about, because you mentioned when you were a young person, but you're a little bit older now, and you have talked about, from a scientific point of view, what where did you go and learn the science part? Did you go to university, or did you do any
Universe,
long courses?
the University of Life.
Yeah.
I was an avid reader, and they've just sat with it. So a lot of my experience in the internet wasn't what it was now. So Donna Eden, her work. So I read her book in the year 2000, which is fantastic. But now she's on YouTube and she's doing all these wonderful things for people, connecting their circuitries in their body, and it's just so fantastic. So I've done a lot of reading. I've also come across a lot of pioneers, which have been very, very useful. And then I've had to try to understand science. And then I've met other pioneers that I've talked like a scientist, and they've gone, Garry, stop there. What you need to say is so a child can understand it. And this is where I'm trying to kind of find my feet with not sounding like a scientist, but just saying it in real simple terms. And if you do really want to know about all the long words, and I can always back it up. And it's just so there's loads of science things for children out there. And if you read that, you just go, my gosh, that's even the stuff for children isn't simple, because you've got to, just go for it and just make sure. But then again, then you get something simple out it. So it's kind of reverse engineering it so it's more understanding it.
It's funny you say about that, because I remember when I was teaching, there's a lot of YouTube information out there. But as you say, even if you're trying to bring it to a different level of understanding, it's still not easy. And what I realized I was doing, because sometimes as a nurse, I would have to explain the pathophysiology to a patient, and they don't read the textbooks. They don't know all the words. So you can't sit there and define everything. And I realized that I was creating analogies for people and terming their health issue in something that I knew they would understand. And it was an example that hit home was I was talking to a patient who's diabetic, and he hadn't been sticking to his diet. He was struggling with peaks of glucose, and he said, I don't really, he said, I don't understand certain aspects of it. And I said, well, how about, I said, think about it, that if you have too much sugar in your diet, you don't drink enough water, it's like having honey in your veins. And so if you've got thick honey moving around, it's not going to move very fast, it's going to stick in places. And it also means it's going to clog up the filters of your liver and your kidney filters. And some of that's going to then stay in place, and that's going to slow things down further. And he looked at me and he said, why has no one explained it to me like that before?
Beautiful. Yeah, that's wonderful.
And it was just because everybody has a good knowledge what honey looks like when it runs,
Yeah,
don't they?
yeah.
And how it
Really
thickens
visual.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really visual. That's really great. I come from a caring background, so I used to work with people that were pre-verbal, so they could not speak to you, but you just had to read the body language, So there's a kind of, there's this communication that doesn't have to be done with words,
Yeah.
But also when you are using words, you can be a good wordsmith and make it a bit more kind of understandable rather than just use lots of junk. So,
Funny you saying about working with those who are pre-verbal. I was directed to look at the telepath tapes on, it's a podcast that it was started last year by I think she's a TV researcher, and she starts off with talking to a scientist about non-verbal savants who use telepathic methods to speak to their parents or their carers, and they were able to transmit and pick up the images when the carer or parent was in another room. And they've been doing research on this to see how they were communicating, and whether, I think one of the things that she was interested to know was, were these children or young adults truly savant, or were they learning from their parents' brains?
Yeah. Well, we're all savants. We've just been, our educational system has not encompassed our whole totality. We've just been given a short kind of, this is your educational system, forget everything else, or we're not even going to tell you what's out there.
Yeah. I've certainly had a diverse education, because I tend to follow my curiosity and go, I need to know more about that. Is there a
So,
book?
so also, when you were saying that, so we live in an age where there's lots of narcissists around, right? And basically, what they're trying to do is to get energy that they've been taught in not a very nice way. So the way I deal with them is, because at the base of everything, we all need love.
Mm.
So when they're trying to drain your energy and blah blah blah, and it's one of the hardest things to do, right? But it's really effective. And the Celestine prophecies, that they James Redfield, he mentions it, and it's just, so you've got your higher self 6 inches above your head, right? But send love to their higher self. And it's dramatic how it happens, because it takes a lot of energy just to go, actually, I don't want to send love, but it's the best thing to do. And then all of a sudden you come into this non-spectral time when it doesn't exist, and you've got this flow of just going, do you know what, I'm pure love, and that's what you need. And it confuses them, because they're going, oh, I'm feeling that feeling that usually I have to be quite not very nice to get what I want. And it's a lovely thing to use. So, and another example of this as well is, if you are open-hearted, right, and somebody that is jealous of you, and you see them every day, hiya, hello, and it's that force, oh, and it hits me. It's not very nice, but yet again, this is why you have to keep going back into your Taurus of your heart and expand it and keep those healthy boundaries, and realize that it's their soul path why they are closed, and something has probably happened for them to be closed. So even though they're not, that they're sending not very nice vibes out, it's, don't take it personally, because it's their soul's evolution of where they are at the moment. So don't let that affect your energy.
And as I was exploring there with education, so what sort of books would you recommend anybody who's interested in the topics that you've mentioned today, if they wanted to explore dowsing or how to work with energy? Who should they be looking at first?
Ooh. So as I said, with my first one is Barbara Ann Brennan, Healing Through the Human Energy Field.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. And she's got another book called Hands of Light. So beautiful, just really loads and loads of information in there. And then the one I've already said is Brunvalo Mekledek, Living in the Heart. Another real fascinating thing with working with earth energy is a lady, she's not around anymore, but an amazing book. It's called The Vivaxis Connection by Judy Jacker. And that's basically philosophy of earth energy, working with it, and also how we can connect with this, the primal energy of our Vivaxis, which is a special energy place in the earth where our mum was gestating the last couple of weeks of pregnancy. Fascinating subject. And also it explains on our etheric and our gravitational energy field. And depending on where you live, those two can swap over. Just an amazing, amazing book. And another book that I'm quite, I really love is The Catalyst of Power, The Assemblage Point of Man. It's by John Well. So he done some work with Dr. Angela Blaine, who I've met. And basically, the assemblage point, which is so you've got your rib cage, and it's that pointy bone there, and it's a piece of it's a light that comes through your back, goes through your body, and comes out. So that's your kind of navigational compass. And the first person
Hmm.
who the first person to coin it was Carlos Castaneda. He wrote some amazing books, and it's basically his experience with a Native American Indian shaman. So it's even though people say it was like kind of pseudo spirituality, there's a lot into it. And then I think in the year 2000, a doctor actually found uh, proof of the assemblage point, which is amazing because the assemblage point, so that can, so that line that should be equated and level, if it starts doing that, you become angry. So you've
Hmm.
got, you've got the military and stuff like that because they have to be quite aggressive, but then if it starts to tilt down and it can go through organs, and that's when you get disease and illness. So it's a fascinating subject. So there's a couple to go on with.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Garry, for coming along today and talking about some of your very diverse subjects. And
Everything's connected.
it is. And I suppose that's the thing. And hopefully we will be able to invite you back again soon and talk some more.
Yeah, yeah, and we can isolate some subjects if you wish, because as you said, it's it's down the rabbit hole. Which avenue do you want to take? So yeah, and all I want to do is to just help each other. We're in a place that we've got all this technology that should be improving our lives, and it's actually making us more isolated. So
Yes.
we need to protect each other, understand things, and unite. So
Yeah.
that's
And
this.
work together. Work as a community. Thank you.